Thank you for joining me today. As the November elections approach, I wish to join Tulsi Gabbard's courageous appeal leaving the Democratic Party. You will find the link in the description. About my person. My name is Sergio Caldarella. I'm an Italian American, a published author, and in my own small way, an educator in this brave new world in which the light of reason is increasingly dimming. Science becomes a business of corrupt bureaucrats and teaching and indoctrination apparatus in a market controlled by monopoly powers fundamentally adverse to the human spirit. I'm well aware of how such a critical prologue, if not my accent, may immediately alienate those who have not explored these issues in depth, and believe me, that is also the intrinsic goal of these opening words, which thin out in this way the number of those who will follow this brief contribution, having also the cultural tools to understand the discourse here presented. Nowadays, most people are calling for optimism and can at best tolerate moderate criticism eventually presented through quote-unquote humor, but can no longer even approach rational critical discourse based on current facts. However, this is no longer the time for this childish attitude. Media communication, school and university have facilitated this immunization against criticism and consequently prepared the ground for serious manipulation of the individual, made deaf and blind to the realities of the world. This is a topic I tried to address back in 2017 in my book, The Empty Campus, which shows some aspects of this serious cultural and spiritual crisis brought about precisely through the destruction of teaching replaced with shrewd ideologies of bizarre minds. Recently, a university professor hired by who knows what faculty council quietly stated in an interview with political commentator Matt Walsh that the truth is a transphobic term. I'm sure that in the current climate, such a gentleman will continue to harm young minds and will probably also become dean or provost of an Ivy League college. In a climate of severe irrationality, it is precisely those with poor judgment who thrive. The first essential moment today consists then in awakening from the proverbial sleep of reason. We desperately need to return to a rationality that is humane and flourishes from yearning from what is good, true, and beautiful. To this day, I'm still registered as a Democrat, but I soon intend to change my registration to independent. In the past, I not only voted Democratic, but I was in Chicago's Grand Park on election night in November 2008, cheering back Obama's entrance onto the scene, giving his presidential election victory speech, which I even commented on the Democratic Party website. I was even naturalized during the period of the Obama administration. Today, Barack Obama represents for me one of the greatest political disappointments of our time. An individual who precisely through his sophistical rhetoric has succeeded in advancing a political agenda, domestic and international, that has damaged the United States of America and the world by basically laying the groundwork for the subversion of reality that we are fully witnessing today. I'm clearly not saying that Obama is solely responsible for the socio-economic and political disaster we are witnessing. I'm only saying that he had presented himself, just as much as Bill Clinton, as one who would stop the advance of the neoliberal ideology and instead has thrown the door wide open to it. From being a party of rights for all, the Democratic Party has been turned into a sounding board for the wishes of the various oligarchs who subsidize its campaign, or for unstable but noisy, damaged individuals who now guide the view of things through a media apparatus corrupted beyond repair, and university structures that have almost no relation anymore to what is the objectivity of facts or the teaching of cultural contents. Universities are, unfortunately, nowadays integral parts of what has been sociologically referred to as the culture industry, a term coined by the German scholar Theodor Adorno. This book explains in detail what the culture industry means. And we're saying that the culture industry, whose overall effect is that of an anti-enlightenment, or variously the equivalent of employment offices or facilities for promoting social climes that have, however, little or nothing to do with the dissemination of knowledge. It is no coincidence that the campaign of Barack Obama, a person who apparently came from nowhere, cost over $1 billion for the first time in American history. The investment that seems to have been made in the Democratic Party is reminiscent of that well-known statement by the oil tycoon Edwin Wendell Pauly, when he said, and I quote, "I went into politics when I realized it was cheaper to elect a new Congress than buy the old one." The Democratic Party has turned into the party of illiberality, censorship, and restrictions by situating itself in too many instances openly contrary to the spirit, if not the letter, of the U.S. Constitution and the ideals and high moral standards that the Founding Fathers struggled to institute in the United States of America. A party that elected a president who calls for nuclear Armageddon as if this were a possible solution to international problems. This is what happens when you lose touch with reason and reality. I was extremely happy to hear former Democratic Representative Tulsi Gabbard's soulful mention of the Gettysburg Address and their courageous appeal to the nation. In her own words, I quote, "I believe in a government that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. Unfortunately, today's Democratic Party does not. Instead, it stands for a government of, by, and for the powerful elite. If you can no longer stomach the direction that so-called woke Democratic Party ideologues are taking our country, I invite you to join me." Tulsi Gabbard's words are mine as well. And therefore, I pick up her appeal and join her call in the hope that many others will want to follow this example. Thank you for listening.